Hi, my name is Herika Martins, and today I'm gonna talk about my guided technology project based on network infrastructure. So, this is the topology of the design and implementations of a network infrastructure and service solution for Dublin's pharmaceutical limit. The company currently has approximately 1,000 employees located in its main office, divided in three distinct divisions: research and development, manufacturing, sales, and marketing. My first challenge was to understand how I could connect all villains. I asked Michael for advice, and he shared some great tips. He suggested that we should keep each group on its own special section of the internet. To make this happen, I used a big suite that helped create this separate neighborhood. I decided to use the suite core L2 that is just one big network, and each division will have its own independent VLAN. Of course, the VLAN are set up on Network Suite. I set up a router module 2811 and linked it to a core suite. The decision to use the core suite was driven by the company's expansion plans and the need for a robust and stable network infrastructure that could accommodate additional suites. For efficient network management, DHCP servers were established for each VLAN on router 28911. This was done by creating subinterface within the router for each VLAN in this network. Router 2811 assumes the whole of the default gateway, facilitating communication between different segments of the networking. Within the core switch, which is like central manager of our network, I set things up in a way that's really organized. You see, I sorted the devices into different groups, kind of like sort them into different teams. Each team has its own special section called a villa. This one. It's like giving each team its own playground to play on. These villains were assigned to specific ports on the devices. It is like in telling each team which door they can use to get to their own playground. So, the research team goes through one door, the manufacture teams go through another door, and so on. Um, I set up the voice villain. It's like giving a special lane on the road just for the phones. This way, when people talk on the phones, their words get to travel fast and without any traffic jam. Have a clear path for important phone call. Now let's talk about guests. I made sure we had a special place for visitors. So I created a guest network villa. It's like a separate space for people who come to visit. This way they can use the Wi-Fi without getting into the same place where our team work. It's like making sure guests can have their own private area to connect. Basically, I organized the network by setting up different VLANs for each team. Then, I made sure each team knows each ports to use. In my second challenge, I need to connect to my VoIP. I started with a router called 2901, but I couldn't get the VoIP to work with. So I switched to a simpler router 2811. and that did the job for me. Well, I set up it to handle 6 phone extensions, each with on number from 5401 to 5406. So here you can see the 5401 and then finish in 5406. These phones were placed in VLAN 60, like given their own room. To make sure this phone could talk to each other, I set up the door they can use, called suite ports, with a special setting called voice VLAN 60. This ensure that their conversation flow without problem. So as you can see here, I can call manufacturing and then sales, marketing through the VoIP. So, so this is the two departments together. So I can call each other by the number that I configured. Wait, 5406. So I'm calling this department below here. So they are having connection between each other. So you can see here that is connected. So I'm gonna show you my guest networking. So I configured in a HTML a page that the user can see when they open the internet. It's come from the DNS. I configured the web CCT.ie. So here's the page. If I type CCT.ie, okay. So this is the HTML that I configured for the user, the guest's user. So this is how my network is working. Now is the second part of my project that is not completely because I didn't have time enough for it, but I did the virtualization. So in my virtual environment, I have set up a simulated network infrastructure that includes a Windows Server 2019 as a domain controller and a Windows 7 as a client workstation. So this is gonna control everything in my client network. Oh, sorry, workstation. So now I'm gonna just show you the part that I've done in this project in the virtualization. Um, I included the IP address, the domain controller inside to my client. So that's the domain can control everything. The part that can show you that my machine is working, I can show you that I can ping each other. So I'm gonna show you the IP that I configured in my client. So here is the IP that I configured in my client 10.1.0.0.55. Let's see my server. So let's open here the CMD. Close this. Let's see the. So this is the IP that I configured in my domain controller, 10.0.0.50. So let's ping my client, 10.0.0.55. So yeah, it's working. So let's see if my client can ping my domain controller, 10.0.0.50. There we go. They are pinging each other. So they there is a connection between them. So this is just the part that I created in my virtual machine. But in future, I want to input some more work on this. I can have users in the client, they can just have their own files that cannot access the other departments and other users in the same computer. So the files will be secured, and they're gonna have their own connections. And also I can create it a website that that is can be controlled by a web server controller. So in conclusion of my whole project, to wrap it all, that's the story of my project for the Dublin Pharmaceutical Limit. I've created a smarted network that gives each team their own space online, just like different neighborhoods in a city. If you have any questions or want to know more, feel free to ask. Thank you for your time and goodbye.